Hey, hello everybody. Good evening. Hello, Andrea. How are you? And hello, Eric. Thank you for joining me this evening. And hello, Katia. I hope you had a good day. This evening we're going on a date. We're doing online dating. Our focus activity for today, our focus activity 810, is online dating. Did everyone have a good day? Tonight we are live, not just on YouTube, we're also live on our Facebook page. I know we're making a lot of progress here on our online lesson activities. It's all very exciting. Okay, well, good evening, Eric, Andrea, and Katia. Tonight we're doing Focus Activity 810, online dating. I know. And it's a very interesting topic. Hi, Eric. How are you? It's a very interesting topic and somewhat appropriate. Good evening, Lily. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to hear from you. I hope you had a good day. It's a very appropriate topic because this morning, for those of you who joined me, we talked about free time and hobbies. And talking about what you do in your free time and what you like to do is a great topic of conversation when you go on a date. So our focus activity this morning actually prepared us for our focus activity this evening, which is a focus 810. And we are talking about online dating. Before we get started, everyone, what is a date? If someone says, oh, it's Friday night, I'm going on a date. Or, oh, I'm so excited, I met someone fantastic and we're going on a date. Hi, Elena, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good day. Tonight, Elena, we are going on a date. We are talking about online dating. And before we start, I'm asking everybody, what is a date and why do people go on it? No, we're not talking about a date, which is a fruit. We're talking about an event, a social event, which a lot of people look forward to. It makes some people nervous and anxious. And sometimes it could be the beginning of something amazing. What is a date? And do you want one? And if you do, how are you going to get one? All of these questions are going to be answered when we start our focus activity on online dating. Tonight in our focus activity, we will be using dating vocabulary. Yes, there is appropriate vocabulary for dating. Hello, Terrence. Thank you for joining us today. It's nice to hear from you. I hope you had a good day. Tonight, Terrence, we are talking about online dating. I had asked the question, what is a date? An appointment. For example, if I go to the doctor, I call up my doctor and say, listen, doctor, I have a sore throat and a headache. And he says, okay, come in tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I have an appointment. Is that a date? And hello, Pietro. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, Pietro, we're going on a date. Not you and I, but the entire focus group. We're talking about online dating. Or better, a meeting with someone. Okay, Katia, I call you up on the telephone. I say, oh, hi, Katia. Why don't we meet for coffee? Are we going on a date? What do you think? So we said, okay, going on a date is not with your doctor. Going on a date is not when Katya and Jennifer meet for coffee. Then what is a date? Where tonight, during our focus activity, we will be considering vocabulary for a date, breaking the ice, and writing a description. We'll get started while you're considering what is a date. Okay, in the image on your screen, we see two people. She looks somewhat shy. He looks very happy. And there's a lot of red for love. And the question, well, the title of this slide is Your Dating History. Now, this gives us a clue. I asked the question, what is a date? And we determined it's not with your doctor. And it's not when Jennifer and Katya meet for coffee. Do you want me to tell you what a date is? Okay, I'll tell you. A date is when two people spend time together to get to know one another. Why? Because there's the possibility of love. Some people date for fun. Oh, thank you, Elena. Elena, a date is a day of the month, but also an appointment or a meeting, also a romantic meeting. Okay, so for example, my birthday is a date because it's a day. But if we're talking about dating, the verb to date, I date, you date, we date, they date, then it's a romantic meeting between two people. Okay. And why do people want to go on a date? Some people date for sport. Yes, but that's not nice dating. Other people date because they're looking for someone they want to spend time with, possibly their life with, possibly have a family with. So you realize that a date could be the beginning of something very, very important. That's why a lot of people are nervous when they have their first date. We're going to consider these questions together. Have you ever been on a blind date? Now, blind means you can't see. So what does a blind date mean? That the person you go on a date with can't see, or maybe you can't see them. What's a blind date? And yes, I have, for those of you who want to know. Yes, I have. I have been on a blind date. We're going to consider the first question. Have you been on a blind date? And if you have, how did it go? Number two, what was the best first date you have had? So obviously the first date is the first time that you go out with this person. And the last question we want to consider is, do you go Dutch on a date? So here we have three terms about dating, and we want to understand what they mean. That you don't know what. Thank you, Katya, that we don't know what. If I go on a blind date, what don't I know? Usually you need a third party to organize a blind date. For example, I say, Katya, you're such a wonderful, wonderful person. Oh, I didn't even say, Lily, thank you so much for your comment. You said before, I'm meeting with someone who you are interested in. Very good. That's why an appointment with my doctor is not a date, because I'm not interested in my doctor like that. Thank you, Lily. I'm sorry, I didn't see it before. So a blind date is when you have a meeting with someone and you don't know who they are. Exactly, Katya. Thank you very much. That you don't know the person you are going to meet. Well, how does it work? You mean there's a third person, usually a friend or a relative of someone that says, oh, listen, I know these two people. That would be so fantastic together. They need to go on a date. And this third person organizes the meeting. And these two people get together and all the fireworks go off and suddenly they're in love forever and they live happily ever after. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the first blind date is the last date. So my question to you is, have any of you ever been on a blind date? Yes, I have. It was a tragedy. A tragedy. And I said, listen to my friend, don't ever do that to me again. If you're my friend, then be nice to me and don't put me near people like that. So blind dates don't always work. Usually there is someone organizing the date. Thank you, Elena. A friend or a company or companion. There are lots of these events. Yes, because it's for whatever reason, it's difficult for me or for someone else to meet someone that they're interested in. But sometimes people say, oh, well, I know her and I know her and I know him and I know them. And then if they all get together, it would be a great thing. So no one here has ever been on a blind date. Lucky you. What about a first date? What was the best first date you have had? Now, we can keep our answers short. We don't have to get into a lot of juicy details. It's a business nowadays. Yes, it is, Elena. There's a lot of money to be made by putting people together so that they can fall in love. Because I don't think people have much time anymore to meet people. I haven't and even don't remember when was the last date I went. Andrea, that makes two of us. I don't remember either. Probably my last date was the blind date I went on. That was a tragedy. Well, someday we'll go on a date. Someday soon. Okay, so none of us have ever been on a blind date except for me. The best first date I went on was actually, I'll tell you a very nice story. I was 18 and the boy was a year older than I was at the time. And he brought me into the city, New York City, with all of his friends. There was maybe 4 couples. And it was Christmas time. It was the Christmas season. You've never been on a blind date, Elena? Good, because I don't recommend it. I don't, not at all. And we went into New York City and it was snowing and all the lights were up for the Christmas holiday. And we went to Lincoln Center and we heard the symphony. And then afterwards we went to dinner. It was just really nice. It was so nice. It was the best first date of my life. What happened? Nothing. It was that. We had one date and that was it. And I never saw him again. I had a great time. I guess he didn't enjoy himself as much as I did. But that's okay. So he said a blind date is when you don't know the person that you're going to meet. The first date is the first time that you go out with this person. So sometimes the blind date is the first date. Usually the blind date is the first date. But the last one, do you go Dutch? What does it mean to go Dutch? A lot of people go Dutch nowadays because nobody wants to feel that the other person expects something at the end of the evening. For example, if we go to the theater and then we go to dinner and I spend a lot of money, at the end of the evening, I might say, well, you know, this evening has cost me a lot, so you better be worth it. That's not very nice. So in order to avoid this unnecessary pressure, people say, you know what? I'll pay for me. And that's what going Dutch means. when each person on the date pays for themselves. So, Andrea, I invite you on a date. We go out together, but then at the end of the evening, I pay for half of the dinner and you pay for half. I pay for my ticket to the theater and you pay for your ticket to the theater. Possibly we meet at the place so I don't have to take you home and you don't take me home. So there isn't that uncomfortable silence of when you walk me to the door, if is she going to invite me inside? And oh, should I ask him to come inside? Or oh, should he stay the night? Because I paid for me and you paid for you, so everybody can go home. That's the idea of going Dutch. And I highly suggest it. Question 4. Have you ever stood someone up? These are our phrases for dating. These are our vocabulary for dating. The blind date, we said, when you don't know the person you're going out with. The first date is the first time you go out with this person. To go Dutch means each person pays for themselves. Have you ever stood someone up? Thank you, Andrea. To go Dutch is when everyone pays for himself. Excellent. That's exactly true. And so you avoid the uneasiness at the end of the evening if someone has paid for you, or possibly if you have paid for somebody else and expect something in return, because that happens too sometimes. So what does it mean to stand someone up? And this is a horrible, horrible thing when you stand someone up. And yes, this has happened to me too. I've been on a blind date. I've had a wonderful first date and last date. I go Dutch whenever I can. I actually prefer to go Dutch. And yes, I have been stood up. But I've never stood anyone up. Does anyone have an idea what it means to stand someone up? I'll create the situation for you. So my phone rings maybe on a Wednesday, and it's a wonderful person on the other end. And they say, Jennifer, I would love to spend Friday evening with you. And I say, great, I'm free. Let's go out together. And it's going to be our first date. Thank you. When someone doesn't go to the appointment, but doesn't go, why, Katya and Elena, to fail to meet? But why don't they go? Because they're sick. And they say, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'm not feeling well, but we can reschedule. Or maybe they're driving to pick you up and they get into a car accident. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was coming to get you, but I was in a car accident. Why didn't they go on the date? That's the difference between standing somebody up and an unforeseen event. So anyway, this person calls me up and says, Jennifer, I would love to spend Friday evening with you. And I say, great, let's go out and spend the evening together. So they say, okay, I'll pick you up because he doesn't want to see you. That's exactly why, Elena. That's why. Or because he forgets. But Elena, he forgets because he doesn't want to see me. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Maybe the person has changed his mind. That's possible, Andrea. That's entirely possible. But a phone call, a text, say, listen, I thought I wanted to spend the evening with you, and now I don't. The bad thing about being stood up is that you take the time to get ready and you put on your lipstick and you do your hair and you put on your perfume and you're ready to go. And you sit there and you wait for the doorbell. Ding dong. Exactly, Elena. If you change your mind, let the person know. They shouldn't be sitting there all evening waiting for you. It's not a nice thing to do. And a dream date. I'm the only one talking here. I feel like I'm in therapy. Okay, we've talked about a blind date. When you don't know the person you're going out with, the first date, the first time you meet the person you're going out with, going Dutch when everybody pays for themselves. To stand someone up is when you make it the appointment, you agree to go on a date, and then you just don't show up and you leave that poor person waiting in their living room, looking out the window, checking the phone. And your dream date. Has anyone ever had a dream date? I have. That was the dream date I told you about. I never ever forgot that date. It was a wonderful evening. The history of dating. Remember, as you come up with comments, especially answers to the questions, just put them in the conversation box over on the right, and then we can consider everybody's answers together. Okay, the history of dating. Read the resource and then answer the questions. Okay, I'm going to put the resource up on the screen for us. We can consider it together. As we're reading the resource, I want us to consider these questions. How has dating changed in the last 20 years? Now, obviously, if you're not 20 yet, you might not be able to answer this question, but according to the text that we're going to read together, all of us have a dream date nowadays. I do. I have a different dream date now. The dream date I went on when I was 18 was nice, but I think now I have a more mature type of dream date. I know, I'm going to write it down. So this way, when someone takes me on a date, I can be like, check, check, check. You didn't do this. You did this. Okay. No, I'm not that bad. But I do have different expectations now. The expectations of an 18-year-old to an older woman are different. So we're going to consider these three questions as we read over the text. How has dating changed? What is the dating etiquette in your country? So how do people go on a date now here in Italy? What is chivalry and is it dead? All right, now we're going to close down this here and we're going to stop sharing our screen. We're going to pull up this focus resource. All right, hang on a second. Let me move it out of the way so I can, wait a minute. All right. No, I did not share screen. And here we are. Okay, let me just open it up a little bit. Okay, can everyone see the text? If you can't see the text, please let me know. We're going to read through the text together, and then we're going to consider those questions. Do you remember the questions that we had on the previous screen as to how has dating changed? What is the dating etiquette here? Meaning, how do people behave when they want to go on a date? And is chivalry dead? Let's read through the text together. Dating has changed very quickly in recent years. Before the late 90s, if you had a crush on a girl, you had to search through town in hopes of physically finding her or wait until school. If you had her number, you could gather your courage and phone her family's house, but you'd have to get through her family just to talk to her. Today, teens exchange emotion-filled, emoticon, fill the messages on mobile phones and social networks, those emojis. Online, users post flattering photos, which probably conceal their major flaws, on their profile and flirt with other users on the site. Speed dating has also become more commonplace. These ultra efficient events are arranged to give bachelors and bachelorettes the opportunity to meet as many eligible singles as possible within a specific time. Speed dating is incredibly fascinating, I think. These events can be massive in countries like China, where a nationally imbalanced ratio of men to women has intensified the pressure to get married by the right age. More traditional approaches, such as posting personal ads in a newspaper's classified section, are still around as well. Okay, so here in our text, we also have different dating vocabulary we can consider. Hi, Gabriela. Thank you for joining us. We are dating. Tonight we are dating. We're talking about online dating, and we've gone over some vocabulary for dating. You're right on time. Okay, notice our underlined words. We have crush, gather your courage, flattering, major flaws, flirt, ultra efficient, bachelors and bachelorettes, and eligible. Does anyone have any questions about the vocabulary in our text? Do you understand what all of these highlighted words mean? Take a minute and think about it, because there's a lot of interesting words in this text. In fact, I remember what it was like before the days of internet and mobile phones, especially when you had to check the phone book for the telephone number of the person that you had a crush on. And you would look them up by their surname. So maybe they weren't the only person with that surname in the telephone book. So sometimes you'd have to call more than one. And you say, oh, hello, this is Jennifer. Is David there? David who? You say, oh, never mind, wrong number. Thank you. Okay, Katya, flattering, and Lily. Okay, you have the same question about the same word. What does flattering mean? In this sense, it says online users post flattering photos. Flattering means if you're talking about yourself, you're going to put up a photo that shows your best side. So for example, if I have a horrible scar on this side, then I only show a photo from this side. And people are like, oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. And then all of a sudden I turn my head, they're like, ah, look at that scar on your face. So if you're going to post only flattering photos, then you only show your best qualities. If, on the other hand, you are flattering someone, then you talk about their good qualities and you compliment them excessively. Okay, have I answered your question? Are there any other questions about the vocabulary in our text? Like the portrait. Yes. For example, on these sites, if I understand correctly, Katya, they have a profile of themselves and they only send good photos of themselves. I mean, nowadays people are taking selfies everywhere. There are selfies all the time. But now with all of these tools, you can adjust the selfie so you look magnificent. Whereas in real life, you don't always look like that, but these selfies make everybody look wonderful. Crush. Thank you, Gabriela. Crush is a fantastic word. It's not love, but it is infatuation, meaning when you meet someone and you know there's something about them that you really like, and so you look at them and you listen to their voice and you like them a lot, but you don't know them well enough to love them. Crush means that you are extremely interested. And it doesn't always mean that you're going to get that person. Sometimes you can have a crush on someone and never do anything about it. In fact, I had a huge crush in high school. He was so wonderful. No, nothing ever happened, but he was wonderful. 2 years of my life, I was just completely taken by this person, and he didn't even know I existed. That was the sad part. And then he knew I existed, but he really didn't care, so it didn't matter. All right, we're going to go back to our focus now. So I'm going to pull up the focus. Let's stop sharing. Here I am for everybody to see. We're going to share screen again with our focus activity. So if there are no other questions about the vocabulary, we'll go back to our focus now. Okay. And we're going to answer, it happens very often. Do crushes happen often? It depends. It depends on the person. Sometimes they're just those people that just stick with you and you're like, oh, I can't believe how wonderful this person is. But maybe you're married, or maybe you're too young, or maybe they're married, or maybe you work with them and you could just love being around them. But it doesn't always mean that something has to happen. Okay, so we see our focus back up on the screen, and we want to consider these few questions together. For those of us who are old enough to remember dating once upon a time, has dating changed? Does my story, no, my story about having the crush, does it happen very often? No, I don't have crushes anymore. I don't have time. I really don't. I don't have time to have a crush. I have too many things to do. If I spend too much time thinking about one person, that means I'm not doing things that need to get done, because crushes take up a lot of energy. So I don't recommend them either. I don't recommend blind dating or crushes. Okay, what about dating? Has dating changed in the last 20 years? Yes, it has. Has it changed for better or for Terrence, I don't need it. I don't need it. No, you don't need it. Crushes are not necessary, but love is nice. When you get older, you'll see that meeting somebody and they love you and you love them, and it's nice. It's a nice thing. You'll see, but you have time, relax. There's no rush, especially now that everybody's in their house. It really wouldn't be convenient right now to fall in love with anybody. Okay, so dating has changed. Has changed for better or for worse? This is entirely your opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Andrea? Since you and I date all the time. And what is the dating etiquette in your country? I'll give you one question. When two people are interested in each other, who asks who to go on a date? Doesn't matter. Because once upon a time, if a man eligible, Lily, I never answered your question. Eligible means you are available. Okay, Lily. So when they say an eligible bachelor or bachelorette, it means you are available to date. And you have a high level, meaning that if people look at you, they say, oh, he would really be a good person to go on a date with. Or look at her, oh, she would be a great person to go on a date with. because maybe they have a good job, they have a great personality, they're very interesting. Oh, that the person I have a crush on doesn't see me. I'm sorry, Lily. You're welcome. Well, in high school, in American high school, Katya, it's very difficult because our high schools were very, very big. So maybe you had a crush on somebody and you would only see that person walking through the hallways. But if they didn't know who you were, then you would just have a crush on them and you never had the opportunity to actually talk to them. Because in my high school, there were almost 3,000 students in my high school. So we were a lot of people walking around at the same time. So in between classes, the bell would ring, ding, and then everyone would rush to their next class. And if I was lucky, I would see him. And I thought he was so wonderful. But he didn't know he didn't know I was alive until the following year. Okay, so we've talked about the fact that dating has changed in the 20 years, and maybe not necessarily for the best. Thank you, Elena. He didn't deserve me. What is chivalry? Thank you, Elena. I appreciate you. Oh, you flatter me, Elena. Okay, what is chivalry? Does anyone know? It's often used to describe a knight. It's used to describe a knight. Remember the men who would dress in steel and they would ride the horses and they would kill the dragon and save the princess. Chivalry is used to describe a knight. They are brave, they are courageous, they are loyal and protective, not only of their king, but of their princess. All right, now we're going to move into icebreakers. What is an icebreaker? What is an icebreaker? No, it's not an ice pick that's used to break the ice for your drink. No. An icebreaker is how you start a conversation. You meet someone for the first time, or you want to meet somebody and you're sitting next to them, and what do you say to break the ice, to get them interested in you so that they want to talk to you? What do you say? When dating, icebreakers are a great way to start a conversation with a new person. Start a conversation using the icebreakers below. Now, these are just two examples that I don't necessarily. Very good, Lily. Thank you. The person who wants to start the conversation breaks the ice. Because maybe you'll just sit there silently thinking, oh, I wish he would talk to me. Oh, why doesn't she talk to me? But then the first person who says, ah, if you could be any animal, which would you be? Or if you had £1 million, or let's change the question. If you had a lot of money, what would you buy first? Thank you. Exactly, Elena. So, Terrence, I want you to take notes. Get your pen, get your paper, write this down. These are important notes for your first date. Katya says it's a topic that can be interesting to start speaking. Exactly. And for those of you who participated this morning in our focus, we talked about free time and hobbies. And usually, to break the ice, people talk about themselves and then they ask questions to the other person. For example, oh, I love traveling in my free time. What do you do in your free time? And you want to get the person to start talking. That's how you break the ice. Another, okay, Terrence, you're taking notes. Terrence is so young, I'm sure yes, I'm sure too, Terrence. You're such a good guy. You really are. You participate in all the focuses and you make your presence known. I always know you're here, and that's an important thing. It's very important. And we can talk about holidays. We can talk about vacations we've been on when we want to break the ice. Depending on when we are on a date, for example, if we're on a date in September and we've just gotten back from our summer holiday, we can say, oh my goodness, I just had a fantastic holiday in Dubai. Where did you go? And did you enjoy your holiday as well? We can also talk about our job. Thank you very much, Elena, and our studies. So if we're working people, we can talk about what we do for a living. If we're younger, we can talk about school, what we study. And Elena says, I usually talk so much, even too much. I do too. I do too. But sometimes I meet people that like to talk as much as me, which makes the conversation very interesting. If I'm the only one talking, then it gets kind of boring because I know me. I don't want to go on a date by myself. All right, here now we're getting into the idea. You do the right thing. Okay, so here we want to get into the personality descriptions, because if we decide to do something like online dating or speed dating, where we need to describe ourselves, we need the adjectives that are fitting. We need adjectives that are true so that we can describe our personality to someone else. Because often people ask you, well, what do you like? What kind of person are you? And you want to be flattering. You want to put your best side first. So you want to talk about your positive characteristics. So here we're going to look at a list of words, and we want to think of synonyms and antonyms. A synonym is a word that is similar, and an antonym is the opposite. For example, if you describe yourself as outgoing, oh, I'm very outgoing. I make friends everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if I'm in the post office, in the supermarket, at the doctor's office. I make friends everywhere. Some people are too quiet. Yes, some people are very quiet. It makes it very difficult to break the ice with those kinds of people. It's easier to break the ice with people who are outgoing. A synonym for outgoing is bubbly. Yes, bubbly like sparkling wine. And an antonym would be shy. Now, as I pull these adjectives up on the screen, you are very outgoing, Elena. Yes, you are. I think you're very outgoing. But also, I think in our line of work, we need to be somewhat outgoing. We can't be like, a stick in the mud, be like, and make it difficult also. All right, now as I pull adjectives for you and I put them on the screen, as you come up with synonyms or antonyms. Now, the ones I put on the screen are not the only ones. So when you have an idea, just put your comment in the conversation box and let me know what you think. Adjective, happy. What's a synonym for happy? A word that is similar to happy. You see, I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very. Like I'm happy right now. Are you happy? Can we come up with another synonym for happy? Because usually outgoing people are happy people as well. You can't be outgoing and angry. Right? People are like, oh, you're such a great teacher, but you can turn it down a little bit when you get home because you're not teaching all the time. You're absolutely right, Elena. In our job, being outgoing is important, but in relationships, sometimes it may be a problem. Lily, I'm not shy, but you're not outgoing either. So you're kind of in the middle. You're reserved, you're friendly, but you're friendly when you're ready to be. And that's a good quality too. Glad, joyful, glad, and pleased. Very good, you guys. We have joyful here. How about an antonym? If we are not happy, we are. The obvious antonym for happy is so you can say someone is very glad or joyful or happy. If they are not, they are sad. Thank you, Pietro. It's nice to hear from you. I thought you'd left. Okay, thank you, Elena. Or you can be stressed, which I think some of us are feeling nowadays, right? I'm very stressed sometimes. Or unhappy. Very good, Gabriela. So we have synonyms for happy, joyful, glad, pleased. And we also have some antonyms, which are sad, unhappy, or miserable. Stressed, as Elena said, and very depressing. Oh, here we have adventurous. And often we can use these adjectives when we talk about our free time activities, things that we enjoy doing in our free time. Because if we're outgoing and happy, usually there are things that we like to do. If we're more reserved and quiet, like Lily, then we might prefer other hobbies and activities. Melancholy, that's a great word. Okay, adventurous, you can be brave, you can be bold. And usually the hobbies we enjoy when we are adventurous are hobbies that are dangerous. Do you remember our dangerous hobbies this morning, like skydiving and rock climbing? So the antonym, the opposite then of adventurous, if we're not brave and bold, we are. Now, I'm not very adventurous. I think sometimes not being adventurous means you have good sense, because sometimes it's not a good idea to be too adventurous, especially when it comes to hobbies and free time activities. Okay, the opposite of adventurous. If you prefer activities or hobbies that are more quiet or quieter, hobbies or activities that you can do by yourself or on your own. I know this is a tough one. Timid. So we see that outgoing and adventurous are somewhat similar. Fearful. Very good, Pietro. Excellent opposite. The opposite of adventurous can be fearful or cautious. You want to be careful. Thank you, Elena. Also reasonable. Because if you're too adventurous, then you could be reckless and do things that just really aren't very wise. Here we have brave. Brave and bold are synonyms. Brave and courageous, like chivalry. Can anyone give me an opposite? If you're not brave, then you are fearful. That might be an opposite for brave too, eh? Should we say cowardly? And we see that a lot of these adjectives are different intensities of the same characteristic. For example, cowardly and fearful are similar. Cowardly is more intense, and fearful can be a good thing depending on the situation that you're in. Calm, a synonym for calm. Gosh, this is a hard exercise. I'm having difficulty with this. I should have looked in my dictionary before I started. Some of them are easy, like outgoing, happy, adventurous. Okay, but a synonym for calm. Oh, I know. If you're very calm, you are also relaxed or quiet. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pietro and Katia. Quiet, also peaceful. If you're calm, you've reached that inner peace. That's a nice feeling. And so the opposite of that is excitable. Sorry if I'm rushing through this because we have a few other slides to do. Relaxed, quiet, and let's do our last one, funny. Funny is a great adjective. It's also a great characteristic to have. I love being around funny people. Oh, reserved. Elena, are we still doing calm? Or are you doing the opposite of funny? What's the synonym for funny? Because I think the opposite of funny can also be reserved. Enjoyable, witty. So thank you, Katya. That's very good. So if you're an enjoyable person or you have an enjoyable personality, it means people like being around you because you make them laugh. And there's no greater feeling than when somebody makes you laugh. Witty, it also means that you have a good sense of humor. You're very quick with your responses. And the opposite of that, Lily, thank you, is boring. Often people who don't talk are boring or they can be extremely serious. Calm, quiet, reserved. Thank you, Elena. Excellent. I understand now. Serious, my sister is extremely serious. Oh my gosh. Sometimes she's so serious, it makes me nervous. And thank you. Boring. Lily said boring and Katya said boring. Thank you very much. The opposite of funny can also be boring. This is the last one. Ambitious means that you are unstoppable. Am I tired? No. Lily, are you tired? Oh, did I just yawn? Did I yawn? Oh my goodness. Sometimes no, I'm not tired. I'm not tired, but sometimes the yawns, they escape. So funny and amusing. Amusing is a very good adjective. Excuse me. I'm so sorry, Lily. Challenging. Thank you, Katya. She's keeping us focused and motivated. So ambitious means, thank you, Lily. Ambitious means that you have goals in mind. There's a place where you want to go, you want to be, so you are motivated. Nothing can stop you. So you are also challenged by your circumstances. Very good. And the last one is the opposite of ambitious is disheartened. It means you no longer try because you know that nothing's going to happen. Okay, hobbies and common interest. As we said, focused. Wait just a minute. Focused for ambitious. Yes, Elena, that's a synonym for ambitious. If you're very focused, it means you are concentrated on where you want to go. Now, the funny thing is, Lily, if I yawn in class just by accident, nobody notices anything. But if I yawn now, while we're live, then it has a completely different impact. So focused is very, very good, Elena. That's a very good synonym for ambitious. Now, here we're talking about hobbies and common interests, which are great conversation starters when we're on a first date. We're not going to prepare a 3-minute speech about ourselves. But what's important to know is that when we describe our personality, we can also talk about what we like to do and what we don't like to do in order to find out what the other person enjoys doing or doesn't enjoy doing so that we can get to know them better. All right. Would you like to do some speed dating? Because in order to do speed dating, we spent a lot of time on personality descriptions. So we understand the adjectives that we use to describe ourselves. And we also know what our free time activities are, what we enjoy doing, what we do in our free time. If we're students, we can talk about school. If we work, we can talk about our job. If we've just come back from a holiday, we can talk about where we have traveled to. If we have an interesting family, we can also talk about our families. So I want you to break the ice with me. Now, I know I have a lot of people out there this evening. I've got at least 14 people that are watching. And this time you have the opportunity to contribute. You can break the ice with me. Why? Because tonight's focus is about dating. So you want to say something to me to make me interested so we can go on a date. Okay, so how do we break the ice? We talk about things that we enjoy doing. We talk about ourselves, our personalities. We describe our characteristics, our personality characteristics, and we ask a question. That's how you get the other person to start talking. Okay, so remember, you only have a few minutes because in speed dating, it's very, very quick. You have to try to get that person's attention so that they're interested in you as quickly as possible. Is anyone going to break the ice with me? This can be a very interesting activity. If anybody wants to break the ice with me, get me interested so I will go on a date with you. Remember, in order to break the ice, you talk about things that you are interested in. What do you like to do? Describe your personality. You can talk about your job. You can talk about your school. You can talk about a recent holiday. Hi, Elena. Oh, I'm from the US. Elena, where are you from? Excellent icebreaker. She got me talking right away. Katya, thank you so much. Me and you can speak about your city, New York. Yes, we can. I love New York, Katya. Have you ever been there? Are there any other icebreakers? Nobody else is interested. Terrence, relax. All you have to do is start a conversation with me. That's all. So tell me about what you do in school. What do you study? What's your favorite subject? Terrence, because I love English. I think English is a fantastic subject. Do you like English too? Do you like English too, Terrence? Yeah. Love English. You ran your first marathon in New York? That must have been a fantastic experience. I don't run in marathons, Katya, but I do enjoy watching them. I do. In fact, I would love to have the experience of being on the sidelines and like maybe giving them snacks or water and cheering them on. My cousin ran in the marathon last year and 2 years ago. Yeah, because my cousin, she's an athlete. She's very, very good. I'm not an athlete. I don't like sports. I like watching sports, but I don't enjoy doing sports very much. And that gets us into the area of talking about hobbies and free time. So you know this city because you ran in a marathon. Very nice. No one else wants to break the ice. I don't understand. Katya, Terrence, and Elena have broken the ice with me. Nobody else has any? All right. What if you don't want to break the ice with me, then give me an example of an icebreaker. What can you say to someone? We said that you can talk about where they're from. As Elena said, she says, "Oh, hi, Jennifer. Where are you from?" That's a very good icebreaker, especially if you see that someone may not be from where you are. Or if you hear them speaking with a very strong accent, as when I speak Italian, I have a very, very heavy American accent. People ask me often, Oh, you're not Italian. Where are you from? And so that's a great way to break the ice. Listen, in our focus activity tonight, which was extremely interesting, especially because this morning, thank you, Lily. Do you like cuisine? Which countries do you prefer? Lily, I love trying different foods. In fact, eating is a great experience. So I enjoy eating different foods that I have never eaten before. Which are my favorite countries? That's a tough one. My favorite country I think I like all countries because every country has a particularity that needs to be appreciated. So I don't think I want to stay in one country forever and never visit another one. I like to move around so that I can visit different places. Where do you live is an excellent question to break the ice. Remember, though, we don't want their personal address because that could be a little bit, what do you do? And we can talk about our job. Thank you, Terrence. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, Terrence. We'll see you next time. Okay, listen, everybody, we've come to the end of our focus. I want to thank everybody for joining me this evening. We went over vocabulary, new phrases and words that talk about dating. And remember, we talked about a blind date, a first date, a dream date, and we can try together many types of food. I would love to, Lily. As soon as this whole thing is finished, we need to go out to a wonderful restaurant. Because I think eating together is a very, very important thing. Bye, Eric. I'll see you. I'll probably hear from you tomorrow or the next day. Listen, if there are no other questions about online dating or advice for dating, then I want everyone to have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay. And remember, we are live every single day. So I'm sure that I will hear from all of you very, very soon. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and I will see you next time.